In the earliest cities of Mesopotamia, long before the rise of Greece, Egypt, or Rome, people lived with a constant sense that the world around them was full of invisible forces. Not forces of myth or fairy tale, but forces that felt practical and immediate, forces that could cause sudden illness, strange behavior, or unexplained misfortune. These unseen agents had a name, and it appeared in thousands of tablets across Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, and Assyria. They were called Udug. The Udug were not imagined as monsters with horns or claws. They weren't described as winged demons or shape-shifting beasts. In fact, most tablets don't describe any physical appearance at all. That absence is what made them so powerful in the lives of ancient people. Udug were invisible, unpredictable, and capable of affecting anyone at any moment. And for Mesopotamians, that made them the most real entities of all. Before we go deeper, if you appreciate long, detailed explorations of ancient civilizations presented in a clear and modern way, a like helps this video reach more people who love history the same way you do. To understand the Udug, we need to step into the mindset of the world's first cities. Imagine living 5,000 years ago, in a place where most people didn't have access to doctors, and where illnesses often appeared without warning. A child could go from healthy to delirious overnight. A farmer could wake up unable to move one side of his body. A mother could collapse in the middle of a normal day. When no cause was visible, people looked to the Udug. The word didn't refer to one single being. It was more like a category, a way of saying, something unseen is interfering. To Mesopotamians, sickness wasn't random. Pain wasn't random. Misfortune wasn't random. Every event had an agent, and the Udug were the most common explanation. They were blamed for fevers, seizures, insomnia, paralysis, nightmares, emotional shifts, and unexplained behavioral changes. And because the Udug were invisible, they could be anywhere. In the home, in the fields, in a bedroom, in a marketplace, or waiting in a doorway. One of the most intriguing aspects is that not all Udug were harmful. Some tablets mention protective Udug, spirits that guarded houses, families, and even entire cities. This dual nature was essential to Mesopotamian thinking. If a harmful Udug caused illness, only a protective Udug could drive it out. That relationship forms the foundation of their spiritual logic. There was always a counterbalance. No harmful force existed without a protective counterpart. And this is why so many rituals focused on inviting a benevolent Udug to occupy the home, almost like assigning a spiritual guard. If you find this kind of insight engaging, consider subscribing. It helps support the creation of more episodes like this one. What makes the Udug especially fascinating is how they appear in the earliest medical tablets ever discovered. These tablets don't read like myths or legends. They read like case files. They describe symptoms with surprising detail: burning fevers, trembling limbs, convulsions, loss of appetite, unusual crying, sudden collapses. Each symptom was linked to a possible spiritual cause, and one of the most common causes was the Udug. But the treatment wasn't only spiritual. Mesopotamian doctors developed herbal remedies, oils, poultices, baths, and diet instructions. The priest performed the incantation. The physician applied the treatment. Healing was a combination of medicine and ritual, an early form of integrated healthcare. The Udug also appear in legal contexts. Some tablets describe accusations where someone was blamed for intentionally sending an Udug against another person. This was considered a serious offense, similar to poisoning or physical assault. Judges evaluated these cases, consulting priests and doctors to understand the nature of the illness. These accusations show that the Udug were more than spiritual entities. They influenced law, responsibility, and social order. A powerful example of how deeply the Udug fit into Mesopotamian life can be seen in households. Families regularly performed rituals to protect their homes from harmful spirits. They placed figurines, amulets, and inscribed tablets under thresholds, behind walls, and near doors. Some figurines were human-like, others were hybrid beings with wings or animal features designed to frighten harmful Udug away. Archaeologists have found dozens of these objects buried beneath the foundations of houses and palaces, showing how protection was physically built into the architecture. The Udug also appear in some of the most famous Mesopotamian myths. In the world of childbirth, for example, the presence of an Udug was believed to weaken the mother, allowing the demoness Lamashtu to strike. Lamashtu was feared for targeting infants and pregnant women, and even in rituals designed to counter her influence, the Udug is mentioned as the initial destabilizing force. This interplay between spirits demonstrates a complex spiritual ecology. Harmful Udug create vulnerability, other entities exploit it, and protective spirits work to restore balance. One of the most important points about the Udug is that they weren't always treated as evil. Sometimes they were neutral observers, forces of nature, not moral agents. They were part of the environment, like rain or wind. They could be disruptive, but not necessarily malicious. This nuance shows how sophisticated Mesopotamian thought was. They didn't divide the world into purely good and purely evil forces. They saw it as a system of influences, some helpful, some harmful, some unpredictable. This worldview made illness more manageable. Instead of chaos, there was structure. Instead of randomness, there was cause and effect. And instead of helplessness, there were strategies, rituals, remedies, offerings, symbols, incantations, and architectural protections. These were tools for restoring balance when an Udug interfered with daily life. Now, let's step inside an ancient Mesopotamian home to see how they handled a real case. Imagine a family in the city of Nippur. Their son begins trembling violently one night. His eyes roll upward. His breathing becomes irregular. The family believes an Udug has entered the house. They call both a physician and an exorcist. The physician examines the symptoms, prepares an herbal mixture from juniper and resin, and applies it to the child's chest. Meanwhile, the exorcist recites an incantation that identifies the Udug, demands its departure, and invokes a protective Udug to replace it. Burning incense fills the room. A figurine is placed at the doorframe. The child's illness becomes a spiritual negotiation, one that combines medicine, ritual, and social belief. Some modern scholars argue that these rituals provided psychological relief, creating a sense of control. Others argue that the rituals were part of a sophisticated medical system that understood the link between environment, emotion, and physical health. Regardless of interpretation, the results were measurable. People felt treated, families felt protected, and the ritual structure, whether symbolic or literal, served a social purpose. The influence of the Udug extended beyond health. They symbolized the unpredictable parts of life, sudden disasters, strange behavior, unusual dreams. When a worker collapsed in a field, an Udug was blamed. When a merchant developed intense anxiety or paranoia, an Udug was blamed. When livestock fell sick, when crops failed unexpectedly, when someone woke up gasping from a nightmare, the Udug explained what the human mind couldn't. The idea of invisible agents shaping human life didn't disappear. It evolved. Later cultures inherited the concept, transforming Udug into demons, unclean spirits, or invisible forces. The idea that disease or misfortune comes from unseen agents still exists in folklore across the world. But in Mesopotamia, the Udug remain a foundational element of how the earliest doctors, priests, and lawmakers understood the world. They were not abstract metaphors. They were a practical framework for interpreting illness and uncertainty. And because Mesopotamia produced the first written texts in human history, the Udug are arguably the earliest documented example of how humans responded to invisible threats, the first attempt to define what we now call the unknown. If you know someone who would enjoy learning about the earliest forms of medical and spiritual thinking, feel free to share this video with them. These stories help us understand not just ancient civilizations, but the roots of our modern relationship with illness, fear, and the forces we still struggle to explain. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.